There are 3 used cars sitting on dealer lots right now that salespeople can't give away because nobody knows they exist. Meanwhile, the mechanics I trust are quietly buying them for their own families. These aren't risky bargains or cheap compromises. They routinely reach 300,000 miles with nothing more than basic maintenance. Yet they're selling for thousands less than they should. Most people happily overpay for Camrys and Accords, while these get ignored. One of them has been my secret recommendation for years, and not a single one has come back with a major failure. Today, I'm counting down the 3 most underrated used cars on the market, and number 1 will change how you shop. Number 3 is one of those cars mechanics are actually happy to see come through the door. Not because it's constantly broken, but because when it does need something, the work is simple and the parts are cheap. And right now, you can still buy one for under $9,000. Last year, a customer, late 20s, asked me to look over a BMW 3 Series he was thinking about buying. A 2014 model with about 87,000 miles. The dealer wanted $14,500. I went through the service records, checked what maintenance was coming up, and told him plainly, "You're about to pay $14 grand for a car that's going to need another $4,000 in repairs within the next year and a half." He asked me what I'd choose instead. I pulled out my phone, opened AutoTrader, and showed him a 2015 Buick Regal with 62,000 miles listed at $8,900. Similar performance, far better long-term reliability, and $5,600 cheaper upfront. He bought it. That was about 14 months ago. Want to know what he's spent on maintenance since? $47, an oil change, and an air filter. Here's what most people don't realize about the second-generation Regal. It isn't really built like a traditional Buick. It rides on GMW's Epsilon 2 platform, developed alongside Opel in Germany. The 2.0-liter Turbo 4 is the same LTG engine that landed on Ward's 10 Best list 3 years in a row. And the transmission is a true 6-speed automatic from Aisin, a Japanese supplier that also builds gearboxes for Toyota. So what you end up with is German engineering influence, a Japanese transmission, and American resale prices. All because it wears a Buick badge that buyers under 50 won't touch. On the used market, a 2015 Regal with under 80,000 miles typically runs $8,500 to $11,000. Compare that to a same-year BMW 328i at 14 to 18 grand. Even major repairs aren't in the same universe. A timing job on the Regal, if it ever needs one, is around $1,100. On the BMW, you're starting near $2,800. And accessibility matters. The turbo on the Regal is right there. I can swap it in about 3 hours. On the BMW, it's buried under the manifold. Easily $3,200 in labor alone. If you're looking at one, here's what to check. First, verify the updated PCV valve. Later revisions fixed earlier oil consumption issues. If that's been done, you're in good shape. Second, inspect the turbo inlet pipe. A crack is a cheap fix, about $90 in 20 minutes, but it tells you whether the previous owner stayed on maintenance. Third, test the infotainment screen. Some units had delamination problems. Not mechanical, just annoying, and about $400 to address. Bottom line, the Regal gives you a near-luxury driving experience without luxury repair bills. It's cheap for exactly one reason. Most people don't know what it really is. And if you think this one gets overlooked, wait until you see number 2. Number 2 has some of the lowest long-term repair costs of any midsize sedan on the road. Lower than a Camry, lower than an Accord, and it depreciates like something is seriously wrong with it. I've been watching this pattern for years. Whenever a Mazda 6 shows up at my shop, I almost feel disappointed because there's usually nothing to fix. Oil changes, brake pads, tires, that's about it. Just last month, a 2016 came in with 167,000 miles. Original owner, bought it new and drove it for 8 years. He asked me what major maintenance he should be preparing for. I put it on the lift and went through everything. Suspension, brakes, underbody, scanned for codes, checked transmission fluid. And you know what I found? Nothing. Even the factory spark plug still had plenty of life. I told him to come back in another 30,000 miles. He looked at me like I was making it up. I see that reaction all the time with these cars. Mazda made a very smart decision with the 3rd generation 6. They didn't over-engineer it. The Skyactiv 2.5-liter 4-cylinder doesn't rely on a failure-prone timing chain tensioner. It uses a long-life chain system designed to last as long as the engine itself. The 6-speed automatic is Mazda's own proven design. No CVT experiments, No dual clutch roulette. Just a traditional torque converter automatic that shifts smoothly and holds up. Here's the technical detail most people overlook. Mazda designed this engine with a 13:1 compression ratio, higher than what you'll find in many sports cars. That translates to better fuel efficiency without sacrificing durability. It sounds backwards, but it works. Used prices will honestly irritate you if you've been shopping Japanese sedans elsewhere. A 2017 Mazda 6 Touring with around 70,000 miles typically sells for 12 to 14 grand. A same-year Camry SE with similar mileage runs $17,000 to $19,000. That's roughly a $5,000 gap for a car that, in real-world ownership, usually costs less to maintain. The most expensive unexpected repair I've personally done on a Skyactiv Mazda 6 was a water pump at about 140,000 miles. $680 total, parts and labor. Compare that to the average surprise repair on an Accord of the same age, which is closer to $1,100. If you're test driving one, watch for two things. First, check the infotainment control knob. If it feels loose or sticky, that's a sign the previous owner was rough on it. Not a deal breaker, just a clue. Second, take it up to highway speed and gently lift off the throttle around 45 miles per hour. If you feel a slight shudder, the motor mounts are likely worn. That's a known issue and about a $350 fix, or a reason to walk if the seller won't negotiate. Also pay attention to paint on 2014 to 2015 models. Some had adhesion problems. Look for bubbling near hood and trunk edges. Mazda quietly extended warranty coverage for this, so confirm whether it was addressed. Who should buy this car? If you want something that's genuinely enjoyable to drive but still practical, the Mazda 6 handles better than anything else in this segment. If you plan to keep a car well past 200,000 miles and want minimal ownership costs, this is it. And if you're tired of paying extra just for a Toyota badge, this is your way out. Who should pass? If maximum rear seat space matters, the Camry has more room. If you want the newest driver assist tech, the 2018 Plus models have it, earlier ones don't. And if resale value in 3 years is your priority, Toyota still wins, because the market hasn't caught up to how good this car actually is. Here's the mechanic math. Buy it for about 12 grand, drive it another 150,000 miles, spend maybe $2,500 total on maintenance. You're not going to find a better dollars per mile deal in the midsize sedan category. Alright, that was number 2. Now we're at number 1. And this is the car I recommend more than any other when people ask me what they should buy. Almost everyone hesitates at first. Then they drive it and the conversation changes completely. If this kind of no-nonsense advice is useful to you, then go ahead and subscribe. I've got more videos coming that break down the difference between the cars dealers love to sell and the ones that actually make sense to own. Number 1 is a full-size sedan that uses the exact same drivetrain as a Lexus ES. It's just as reliable as a Camry, better equipped than both, and it's selling for about $5,000 less, simply because the typical buyer is in their late 60s. Let me tell you about the customer who nearly pushed back on me over this car. About 2 years ago, a woman in her mid-40s came in. Professional, long daily commute, roughly 60 miles a day. She wanted something dependable, had been shopping Camrys and Accords and capped her budget at 18 grand. I asked if she'd look at the Avalon. She laughed and said, "That's what my grandmother drives." So I walked her outside and pointed to my own car, a 2014 Avalon Limited with 188,000 miles on it. I bought it with 90,000 miles for $13,500. Up to that point, I'd spent maybe $1,800 total, and that included a full brake job and a new set of tires. She bought a 2015 Avalon XLE the following week for $14,200 with 71,000 miles. She texted me last month. She's at 142,000 miles now. 0 mechanical problems. Her exact message was, "Why does nobody talk about this car?" Here's why. The 7th generation Avalon shares its platform, its 3.5-liter V6 and its 6-speed automatic with the Lexus EX350. I'm not exaggerating. Same components, same Kentucky assembly line, same Toyota durability. The 2GR FE V6 is widely regarded as one of the most reliable 6-cylinder engines Toyota has ever built. No direct injection headaches, no timing belt service, no turbos to fail, it just keeps running. I've personally worked on multiple examples that went past 350,000 miles on the original transmission. I'm not talking about stories I've heard. I've had my hands on them. Now let's talk pricing, because this is where it gets absurd. A 2016 Avalon XLE with about 80,000 miles typically sells for 14 to 16 grand. A 2016 Lexus ES 350 with the same mileage, 21 to 24,000. That's a $7,000 to $8,000 gap for cars that are mechanically the same. The Lexus gets you a nicer badge and slightly upgraded interior materials. That's the difference. Compare it to a Camry. A 2016 Camry XLE V6 with similar mileage usually runs 15 to 17 grand, sometimes more than an Avalon, and you're getting a smaller car with fewer features. Maintenance costs are exactly what you'd expect from something built this conservatively. Brake pads run about $280 for all four wheels. A transmission fluid service is around $180. Even a water pump, if it ever goes, usually well past 200,000 miles, is about $650. If you're shopping for one, here's what to check. First, run the VIN for dashboard recalls. Some 2013 to 2014 models had dash cracking issues in hot climates, and Toyota extended coverage for it. Second, look closely at tire wear. Uneven wear up front usually means neglected alignment. Not a deal breaker, but it's an easy $100 negotiation point. Third, test the Entune infotainment system. On XLE and limited trims, touchscreen response can degrade. Make sure everything works and there's no lag. And here's the pro tip. Find one that was owned by an older driver. I'm serious, they garage them, service them on schedule, and drive them gently. A grandma car with 60,000 miles is basically brand new. Who should buy this? Highway commuters. This car was built to cruise at 80 miles per hour all day long. Anyone who wants Lexus-level reliability without Lexus pricing. Families who need space. The rear seat is huge. And anyone smart enough not to care what other people think about old person cars. Who should skip it? If you're under 30 and image matters to you, I get it. If you want sharp, sporty handling, this isn't that car. And if you live somewhere with tight parking, remember, this is a big sedan, almost 192 inches long. Here's my final take. This is the best car you can buy for under 15 grand. Full size, fully equipped, full Toyota reliability. Priced low simply because people don't understand what it is. If I had to buy one car today to drive for the next 10 years with the lowest possible total cost of ownership, I'd buy another Avalon without hesitation. So there you have it, 3 cars the average buyer keeps overlooking, while the people who fix cars for a living quietly trust them. The Regal that delivers real performance without luxury repair bills. The Mazda 6 that gets punished by depreciation despite being one of the cheapest sedans to own long term. And the Avalon, a car so underrated it borders on invisible, yet built to last longer than vehicles twice its price. Now you know there are solid under 15 grand options that can realistically go the distance. So the next time a salesperson steers you toward a lightly used German badge with low miles, you'll have a better sense of what actually holds up. And if you want to see which sedans have truly earned their reputation in the shop, the ones that just won't quit, I've got a full breakdown of those too. That's decades of real-world experience, not marketing talk. If this helped, consider subscribing. I'll keep sharing the kind of advice you won't hear on the showroom floor. See you next time.